Hey guys, if you're interested in checking out a video version of the show, please visit the LOWKEY GEEK channel on YouTube. There you can not only catch the video version of the podcast, but you can also check out my other projects and short form video that I produce. You can find a link in the description. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? This week's episode of Movie Time, we are going to be talking about Oscar nominations. If Blake and I were members of the Academy of Voters, Voting Academy, however you want to call it, who would we nominate in the major categories for this year's Oscars? Well, keep watching to find out all of that. So sit back, relax, grab your favorite snack. You know what time it is. It's time for Movie Time, coming at you now. What's up, everybody? It is another week, so that means it's time for another episode of Movie Time. What's up, y'all? A little late on this episode, but we promise you it's a good one. So definitely stay tuned on this episode. But you got myself, Rene, here, and Blake the Wolf. What's going on, Blake?
Yo, buddy, this was the most fun I've had preparing for an episode in quite a while. 2 nights ago, I'm at a friend's house. Post bar drinks, eating some ice cream, and I look over and I'm seeing a few Emmys on a shelf, and I'm like, what's going on here? They're like, oh, would you like to view the Emmys of one of the people who lives here? This person just did some production on some TV work. I was
okay.
Like, yeah, and then they're like handing it to me. I'm like, am I allowed to touch it? I like poke it, and they're like,
Yeah,
hold it. This is just a feature of our home. I'm holding it like the first time you've ever held a baby, and you're like, Oh, and so like literally award season is real. It's here. I've had it in my hands recently. Today, we're not talking about the Emmys. We're talking about the best of all the award shows.
Oh, yeah.
The Big Daddy, the Oscars.
The Big Daddy, the mother of them all. Good old Academy Awards, Oscars, if you're nasty. Yeah, this is what we've been gearing up for pretty much like the whole year or whatever the case is. It's just so that we could talk about this one moment. Well, yeah, okay.
My entire life. I was raised for this.
Fair. But if we were just to like shorten it and narrow it down a little bit, our whole year has been gearing up to just this one moment so that we could prepare for it again for next year. That's what we watch movies for, and just to see like how it ranks with everything else. But no, we're really excited about this. In this particular episode, we're doing something where, look, if we were voting bodies of the Academy, who would we nominate for the major categories? And that's what we are going to be talking about today. So strap up. It's going to be a fun and exciting one. If you are brand new to this channel and you are seeing this video because you too happen to be a fan of the Oscars and you want to talk about, who's going to be nominated, who should be involved in the discussion, and you happen to come across these two knuckleheads here talking about the same thing, welcome. This is the Movie Time review podcast where every week we talk about movies and bullshit and stuff like that. And again, this particular episode is a special one since we're talking about the Oscars. But if you like this episode and you want to see more of us or more of the same type of topic, help YouTube out, help us out. Hit the like button on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Hit the notification bell so you can get notified every time a brand new video is uploaded. For our audio listeners, we appreciate you very much. And if you're looking for an audio version of this show, you could type in LOWKEY GEEK on your podcast platform of choice, where you get to download this and any other episode up on there. And if it does prompt you, leave a good rating. So all that out of the way, is going to be not a long discussion, but a pretty big one. So I say let's just dive into it. There hasn't really been any good movie releases in the last week or two, so nothing really to talk about. But yeah, let's dive into the main mama daddy topic, and that is not Oscar nominees. So the official Oscar nominations are going to be announced in a couple of days. So also, if you want to see us live react to this important event, make sure to stay tuned to the channel, and we'll make sure to let you know when that episode airs. It's going to air exactly when they announce the nominations, which is what, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, I believe it is.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm shaking right now.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. And we're going to prep ourselves for that event for sure. So I say let us go first through the supporting categories. So we got supporting actress and supporting actor. So supporting actress, I would have to say out of all the categories for me personally, this was the toughest one. I feel like there were a lot of great contenders in this category, in any category really, but in this category particular, because there is a question that we had, and I think a lot of people have, is, well, what differentiates lead actor actress and supporting actor actress? And I feel like there's multiple definitions out there. There's personal preference, and then there's what the Academy sees it as, or I should say also what the studio promotes from their films, because a lot of people don't really realize that, yeah, the Academy votes for this stuff, but how do they know who to vote for? Well, the studio's going to help dictate that, because they do their yearly for your consideration pushes for all the films that they release in the year, and they pretty much categorize who's nominated for what from their movie. Or if you're Michelle Williams, you basically say, no, I'm going to be available for this category, and that's what I should be nominated for.
Right.
Which is a little bit ridiculous, but hey, there's politics and everything, and here's where the politics really come into play here. So our list, we're not following any of that crap. We are going to nominate the way we feel it should be nominated. It may, it may equal what happens come the nomination day, or it may not. But these are our own favorites. These are our own, again, if we were bodies of the Academy and we wanted to push through nominations, this is who we would nominate for each category. So start things off, one of the how should we do this? Should we just go actress to actress, or let me just run through my list and then you can run through yours?
Yeah, let's start off that way, I think.
Okay.
Sure.
Cool. So for my list for supporting actress, first there are 4 actresses that I wanted to include on here, but they didn't make the nominees, but I think they should still be talked about for their performances from last year. One is Claire Foy. Claire Foy for Women Talking. I thought, now again, this was one of those conversations that we had about, well, there's so many actresses in that movie, and not one of them really particularly takes the front lead. So are they all leads, or are they all supporting, right? So I think a lot of people would consider them to be all supporting for the most part. And I think Claire Foy should at least be considered or looked at for her performance in that movie. A very strong performance. Nina Hoss for Tar. She is the number 2 in that movie next to Cate Blanchett, and she had also a great performance in that movie. Sadie Sink for The Whale. I'm a huge Stranger Things fan, and I've seen how good of an actress she has become in that show. And now seeing her in a full motion picture and what she's capable of, I think she has a bright future ahead of her. And I think she should at least be recognized for what she did in The Whale. And I know a lot of people are talking about her performance in that movie too. Will she get nominated? I don't think so, but I think she should at least be looked at. And lastly is Gabrielle Union for The Inspection. It was one of those performances where I was not expecting from her, but then I was really pleasantly surprised. And, she's been having interviews lately about, it's funny how I'm up in years and now they're talking about I'm kind of like an ingenue of the industry, because of my last performance in The Inspection. And it's not something I'm so used to. So she's having a great moment in her career right now. But for my main nominations for supporting actress, they are Angela Bassett for Wakanda Forever, Dolly DeLeon for Triangle of Sadness, Hong Chow for The Whale, but she also had a great performance in The Menu. Stephanie Sue for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And to round things off, Janelle Monáe for Glass Onion. I think, again, her performance really helped make that movie as good as it is. The entire ensemble cast was brilliant, but she stood out so much so, even more so than Daniel Craig, in my opinion. She was like the main focus of that movie, and I really do feel like she should be recognized for her performance there. Blake, any comments from my nominations or anyone I've mentioned?
We've got a few of the same people on our lists, but
Nice.
also the one where Stephanie Sue and Angela Bassett are on your list.
Yeah.
I kind of looked at it. One thing I did was like, if someone is an Oscar favorite, I didn't necessarily exclude them from my list, but it made me really rethink, like, should this person really be on there? And I'm not trying to take anything away from anyone. Angela Bassett is one of the most deserving people in history for an Oscar. For me, this performance wasn't it. And I stand by that, even though loved her performance, best performance in the film. And then like Stephanie Sue, to me, was like Everything Everywhere is going to pop up all over my list, but to me was one of the weaker acting performances in that movie. Wait till we get to supporting actor. I think you might just kick me off of this channel forever. But the overall, the question of should this person be put in supporting or lead? There's no business like show business, and I was looking into it. Like my personal belief is the only reason they don't define it is because of the business side of things, because it's convenient for the studios to be able to push people in one category versus the other. But overall, I can't disagree with your list. I can't disagree with. I've got a few honorable mentions on mine. I have Claire Foy on my short list, my honorable mentions, and then I was thinking about Jessie Buckley in Men and Women Talking. It's not a movie called Men and Women Talk. She was the lead in Men and then was the supporting in Women Talking. One of the other things that I consider, which I know that like Oscar voters consider, did you have multiple great performances this year? But technically, when the Oscars nominate you for something, it's for that one role.
Sure.
And one of my favorite little quirks in Oscar history is when someone runs against themselves in two different performances. That's always hilarious. That said, I didn't put Jessie Buckley in either because part of my thing is she's like on 10 in both movies or close to being on 10. And I value certain things like range, but also something we'll get to is like the Oscars don't value comedy enough, in my opinion. They don't value physical acting enough. And it's a lot of, did you have a scene where you broke down screaming and crying tragically? Cool. If you did the most acting in a scene like that, we'll put you in there. So I'm a little surprised Margot Robbie isn't getting more consideration for Babylon for that, just because that's someone who was just doing the most every single moment they were on the screen. But I personally don't think of it as it's the joke is like, was it the most acting or the best acting? So I try to like nuance it a little bit. And if someone's a favorite, like Angela Bassett and Stephanie Sue on your list, I try to look at it a little more closely rather than go with those. No disrespect to your list. It's a fine list. It's a good list, Rene.
Yeah. I will say, I don't agree with your take on Angela Bassett, but that's fine. You know, I think it's subjective, right? I think people will just see performances the way they see it. Again, my hot take on Decision to Leave will had everyone pretty much questioning my love for film and whatever the case is. But when I saw her performance in Wakanda Forever, I mean, I was blown away by it, you know, and she was really the heart of that movie. I think without her performance, that movie just wouldn't be that good, you know, because I was already struggling in trying to say, is this a good movie? Is this, you know, was this, you know, worthy, a worthy sequel? And I do think it's because of her performance that made me say like, all right, I enjoyed that enough to say that this was a decent movie. But again, you know, everyone has their own favorites. And that's why I'm so curious to hear what your choices are going to be. So Are you ready to present them to us, Mister?
Yeah, and the other thing I'll say before is another thing that the Oscars do, which I don't
Yeah.
like, is they do legacy awards. How many
Yeah.
times should you have been nominated? Now we'll give you a
Mm.
nomination and we'll give you a win for the thing that is not your best performance
Yeah.
are bad. And so that's something that I tried to avoid on my list. But yes, I'm gonna
I mean, a
my
great example,
honorable.
yeah, just before you go, like a great example of that is the whole Peter Jackson Award, right? It's like he did brilliantly on Fellowship and then Two Towers, and then he didn't get really anything for any of those. It's like, oh, let's just give it to him for the third movie because that's going to be the culmination of it all, whatever the case is, and also to go back on your how sometimes the Oscars handles, well, if you had an actor who was in 3 movies this year, all great performances, we'll just nominate them for the more recent one or the more talked about one or whatever the
Right.
case is. It's so ridiculous. I mean, there's so many things that are just so funny about this whole thing, but we still love it and we still love talking about it.
Yep.
So yeah, so hit us with
Yeah.
your list there, man.
Okay, so the short list for honorable mentions: Nina Hoss in Tar, Margot Robbie for Amsterdam, Kristen Stewart in Crimes of the Future was a very funny
Oh,
deadpan
okay.
performance. Journey Smollett in Spiderhead. Uh, I just bought into her performance. I know that neither of us liked that movie.
All right. Yeah.
I mentioned Jessie Buckley and Claire Foy in Women Talking. And then I will put Angela Bassett on my honorable mentions for sure, because that is a powerful performance, no doubt. My five, who I think are the biggest snubs, if they're not nominated for the Oscars, which a few I know won't be, um, mainly Amanda Stenberg for Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Uh,
Oh.
that is my hot take, but the acting there to me was absolutely phenomenal. So it's another one of those things that the Oscars get wrong. They don't include comedy and horror enough
Mm-hmm.
for contenders, so that one to me deserves it just on the acting alone. Other ones, these are all pretty high up on people's lists, but Michelle Williams for Fablemans, Dolly De Leon for Triangle of Sadness, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Viola Davis for Woman King, which probably will be nominated for Best Actress, but I consider Viola Davis's performance as supporting, whereas the other lead, the protagonist of the film, was Thuso Mbedu, and that to me was the lead, and Viola Davis was
Mm-hmm.
supporting. I stand by that. So my winner of the five is Dolly De Leon from Triangle of Sadness. That's who I would give it to of those five.
Nice.
But yeah,
I like that. No, I like that list. I guess for me, the shocker is really Amanda Stenberg. But again, I didn't have a chance to see. It's so interesting that Bodies, Bodies, Bodies came out, what, beginning of summer or before summer? And it's
oh yeah,
right. And it's not on any streaming platform yet. It's just one of those weird situations where it's like, okay, how do they decide when a movie's ready for streaming? Because Violent Night, you can now watch it on Peacock, and that just came out in December, right? So it's
oh yeah.
so bizarre how they determine that stuff. But yeah, the one thing I will say is I do see a lot of buzz about Michelle Williams for The Fablemans. I think the take that you had for Angela Bassett, I will have that same take on Michelle Williams. I
Yeah,
just,
I see it.
yeah, I just could not buy into that whole like, oh, kind of like type of acting. It was a
Yeah.
little bit too much for me. And if I looked at all the acting in that movie, she was not probably top 3 for me in that movie. I think.
I almost had Seth Rogen on my supporting, which is
Yes,
hilarious.
yes,
So he
yeah,
was very good, though. Very
yeah,
good in a small role.
exactly. Yeah, it's like it's such a tiny role, but I think he was better than Michelle Williams. Again, not as annoying for sure, but yeah, no, that's good stuff. For my winner of this category, I would have to go with Dolly DeLeon too. I think,
Wow.
yeah, because she
Unanimous.
was.
Okay.
Yeah, she was someone that I was really rooting for after I saw that movie because her turn in that movie just completely shocked me. And again, to have that such a like presence on screen for someone who is so quiet for most of the movie, Like it was just something I was not expecting. And I think those are the kind of moments where you're like, wait a minute, like that's a great performance. That's a surprise performance. And for again, a small role, perfect for supporting, right? And all that stuff. So yeah, so
Oh
good
yeah.
stuff. Again, as we go through this, make sure you let us know your thoughts on supporting actress. Who would you have included on this list? Who's your top, front runner for it all? Let's hear your picks, and let's have a discussion about them because again, this is fun stuff, and we love doing this. So, moving on to supporting actor. I don't know. For me, this category was not that difficult. I don't personally have any honorable mentions in this category because I think, for the most part, in my head at least, it was very clear who I would have nominated for supporting actor in this year's running here. So I'll just go through my list real quick here. Judd Hirsch in The Fabelmans. Again, the minute he showed up on screen and started having his dialogue, I just thought his performance was brilliant. And I said to myself, it's like supporting actor right here. I think this is like the nomination, and with at least one of them, right? And within the same vein, Anthony Hopkins for Armageddon Time. I thought he played a similar type of role for the character in that movie. And I think anytime he was on screen, he had a great presence and great message. And he kind of played the heart of that family in that movie. And once he was gone, it was felt all throughout the family. And that's when you could see things, breaking down and all that stuff. So I thought that was a very, very strong performance. Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway. I haven't had a chance to really talk about Causeway much on this channel or with you, but it was something that I was able to catch during my free trial of Apple TV Plus because I was curious to see the movie because a lot of people were talking about, could this be the return of Jennifer Lawrence? Is she back to her original form? And I did think she did a good job in that movie, but it was Brian Tyree Henry's performance that really stole it, I think, in my opinion. I highly recommend watching this movie for his performance. And I think he's done such a great job in the last couple of years. I think it's about time he should be recognized for something. And I think this is like a good chance for him to be recognized for something and his achievements. Paul Dano. Now, I loved Paul Dano in The Batman. And I think Paul Dano's performance in The Fabelmans was also pretty strong. But my nomination would be for The Batman, not for The Fabelmans.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people who would probably nominate him would be for The Fabelmans. Nah, F that. I am nominating him for The Batman.
No.
So good.
Absolutely losing his shit.
Oh, yeah.
The Batman. Absolutely.
It's so good, and it should definitely be recognized for sure. And last on my list is Ke Huy Quan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think that's what everyone is saying. If you pay attention to the recent awards ceremonies, he has been winning quite a bit. But I think it's well deserved too, because out of all the movies I saw this year, when we saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think that was the one thing we kept talking about was Short Round is back, and he was phenomenal. And he was really, really strong in that movie. And it still stuck with me as the year went by. So those are my nominations. If I were to pick who would win from this, I would have to say Short Round himself. I think he's the strong contender.
Wow.
I think this is his to lose, in my opinion, on this list and in general when the real nominees are announced. So, what do you think there, Blake?
So you have convinced me to see Causeway. It's when I
Nice.
put off. It seemed just a little
Nice.
heavy, but absolutely about Brian Tyree Henry, one of the best actors, and also Bullet Train, correct?
That's right. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
and Atlanta, a great season of
Yeah.
Atlanta.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
What a force so that is now the reason I will, because I was like, I don't need to see it for Jennifer Lawrence, but you've convinced me to see that.
Yeah.
This is the part where, please don't turn this off, because I swear I will have some Everything Everywhere a little bit later on, but I don't have Ke Huy Quan in my
Okay.
nominees.
Okay.
Don't have him in my honorable mentions. This is
Well, it was
worse
nice
than my
having
Angela
Blake on
Bassett hot
the
take.
yeah.
I
It was
know.
nice
I'm
having
so
Blake on the
sorry.
episode. So
You're a
from now on,
winner.
you'll just be hearing my talk
Oh, I'm
about. No,
so
I'm
sorry.
just kidding.
Okay, hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. I loved the role, I loved the character, and I
Yeah.
loved the performance, but the acting to me wasn't there. I feel like Ke Huy Quan did a very good job doing what needed to be done for that movie.
Okay.
If I'm only judging it based on like range of acting performance, I did not
Hmm.
enjoy. Now, that's one of the things that I find difficult with Oscar nomination stuff is a lot of times we're nominating the person,
Sure.
and there are roles that are smaller roles that don't require a lot of acting.
Yeah.
And that to me, he did exactly what was needed. Hit it out of the park for what was required. But because the difficulty of the role wasn't there, that's why he's not on my
Gotcha.
list. So that's kind of
Gotcha.
one of
So
the things I consider that I know a lot of people don't. And
okay.
I think I'm wrong. I honestly, there's part of me that's like, I wish I was able to give a more nuanced opinion of, did they do a good job of what they were supposed to do, regardless of how difficult it was, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you need to go up there and you need to hit a bunt, and now you're the MVP of the World Series because
Sure.
you hit a bunt at the right time. In this case, this is better than a bunt for sure. This is like a double at least, but I didn't think of the task at hand, this difficulty, to warranted a nomination, no matter who did it. I don't know if anyone
Sure.
could have done better. So
Right. No, no,
yeah,
it makes sense. And again, I wouldn't argue with you on that mindset. In a way, it's like how I approached you'll hear about it later. Director. I kind of like approach it where it's like, all right, as far as the art of filmmaking, who had the most impact, in my opinion? That's kind of how I approach that, where other people probably would have approached things more differently. It's like, oh, well, the acting in this movie was so good. It must have been because of the director, right? I mean, yes, but also you just have really strong actors and actresses sometimes, and they should be recognized separately for that. Because if you take them out of the movie, is the movie still a good movie?
yeah.
So that's kind of how I look at it. So in your mindset for did the actor do what was asked versus did the actor or actress go above and beyond what was asked and just kind of he had this crazy impact performance that was extremely challenging and they knocked it out of the park. I could see where you're coming from there. So well, with that being said, who did
Yeah.
make your list then?
Nothing controversial here at all. None of these are
Yeah,
weird.
of course
So
not.
I'll just breeze through the short list. Judd Hirsch, Fablemans, Woody Harrelson in Triangle of Sadness, just a
Oh,
fun
nice one.
role.
Yeah. Hmm.
Arturo Castro playing one of the businessmen in the menu had to give some very intense
Nice.
performance in a moment there that I thought was fun. And Spike Jonze in Babylon as the director, just a fun one. That said, none of those are making my top five. My top five are Steve Yeun in Nope, Jeremy Strong in Armageddon Time, Colin Farrell for the Batman. Uh, I'm not even sure if I'm saying this name right. I haven't heard anyone mention it. Lars Eidinger from White Noise, the mad scientist person. Just an absolute wild performance for a wild character.
Uh-huh.
And Ben Whishaw in Women Talking. I
Oh,
feel
nice.
like should be getting more consideration. I do understand why it's a problem to like highly consider the dude person in Women Talking and how even in the movie they silence him at points of like, you are just here to be present. But I do think there was a few times where the movie gave him some moments where he hit it out of the park, regardless of whether or not the character should have existed or the characters in the movie think the character should have even been able to speak. That said, the role he was given, I think he did a great job with that. And I actually
Mhm.
have Ben Whishaw as my winner. Partially, I'm being a hypocrite and doing the thing I said the Academy does, which is like, oh, this person should have been recognized more before. I've loved Ben Whishaw. He's been a huge favorite, and he just has never been like super famous or gotten enough recognition, and
Uh-huh.
hasn't even done that many roles that would get him that. But he's just been like
Yeah.
silently just hitting home runs every chance he gets. So I'm definitely I've got Ben Whishaw in my top spot.
Nice, nice. I like your list. I like that you have Steve and you in there because I talk about strong actors. I mean, this guy has been having really a great
Oof.
career ever since he left
Yeah.
Walking Dead and all that. So I'm so happy about him. I'm really happy you mentioned Jeremy Strong. I'm happy that we are kind of bringing Armageddon Time up because
Yeah.
no one is like no one's talking
Yo,
about this movie, which is kind of
this is
crazy in my opinion, right?
yeah. I mean, after the movie comes out, it was like Anthony Hopkins might win supporting actor
Yeah,
again. I think there might be some consideration in a writing or a directing type category, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it just got zero nominations anywhere. Whereas
yeah,
it's one of those movies that in another year, like in a year where The Father did so damn well, with and
right.
Anthony Hopkins gets the win, that same year, this movie might be nominated in every single category except whichever ones it can't be. But like Anne Hathaway, Jeremy Strong, Anthony Hopkins, the kid is in the lead, the writing, the directing, best picture. I could see it in all those, and it might not be in any. So I'm glad. This is
Yeah.
one of the fun things with this conversation is
Hmm.
it's the snubs conversations can be a little annoying at times when it's just people keep
Right.
mentioning the same people who barely missed out. There's a lot of movies that just for whatever reason just kind of get lost in the shuffle over the year.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you put them on the list, a lot of them would get a lot of votes for the award, but they're just maybe the promotion cycle or
Yeah.
there's times that an actor won't show up to play the game, or who knows what. But yeah, that's a good call on your end. That movie
Yeah.
should be in the conversation more in all of these categories.
No, absolutely. And especially like I think one of the things that you and I talked about when we saw it was that it's a movie that's like formulated perfectly for the Oscars. You know, in a way, it's like
Seriously,
it's almost like how Steven Spielberg has his formula. And once you see it on screen, you're like, okay, that's going to be an Oscar nominee. Like once we come to that time, that movie Armageddon Time was formulated the same exact way. That's why I'm really
yeah,
shocked that not a lot of people are talking about it. That and we also mentioned Triangle of Sadness. Like I'm surprised that's not
yeah,
in the conversation more so. But who knows? I mean, the Oscars have surprised us in the past, bringing up and nominating people that no one thought would be nominated. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Moving on to now the lead acting categories. This is always a fun topic to talk about. So again, with the next two categories, I don't really have any honorable mentions here. I guess in my mind, again, things were very clear as to who I would
mm,
consider for these categories. But it is kind of funny how I felt that way, but then supporting actress, I didn't. It was just
yeah,
like, yeah, I had so many left over from there. But anyway, so lead actress, what I have here for the five nominees are, and shouldn't be a surprise to a lot of you if you follow us here on this channel. Kate Blanchett is for me the forerunner here. She is like above and beyond like the best I think of last year. Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Kiki Palmer for Nope. I really do feel like she should
hmm
be talked about for her performance in that movie
hmm
because she ran away with that movie. She just was such a presence all throughout, and her energy, her dialogue, everything was just so great in that movie. So I really, really appreciate it, and I think she should really be talked about more about that. I am putting Jessie Buckley in this list here for men, but also I'm recognizing her performance in Women Talking. You know, again, Women Talking had such great performances from all the actresses there, and an actor with Ben. It really should be talked about more for sure. So Jessie Buckley is on this list, and to close out my list here, which might be a surprise to you, Blake, or maybe it'll make you happy. Ana de Armas for Blonde. I think she did a very risky. She took a risky chance in acting in that movie, and she did a lot of things that made her so vulnerable all throughout. But my God, if you can't say that she did a brilliant job at her performing and acting in that movie, I felt like she just threw it all. She gave it all. She threw it up all on the wall, and she just went for it. And regardless of how people think about this movie now, or at the time, or what was depicted, or whatever the case is, you cannot ding her for her performance in that movie. So yeah, that is my category there. For nominees, I think the runaway here, maybe it's bias, maybe whatever the case is, but I'm going to say Michelle Yeoh. This is her time. This is her time. I love Kate. Kate, I love you. I always will love you forever. You already have one. Let's give Michelle a chance. I'm sure you're going to do another movie in the next couple of years that people are going to be talking about. Who knows what Michelle will do next, but I think this is her chance, her time, her moment for all the years that she's already put out there, for all of her performances in total. She is the one that should and will win this category of lead actress. Blake, what say you?
I'm so confused by Tar's place in where it'll be Oscar night. I could see it winning Best Picture. I could see it getting very few nominations.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm on your team. I hope Michelle Yeoh wins. That is the most likely and favorite outcome for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have the biggest soft spot for Cate Blanchett in the world. And I'm in multiple group chats where I'm known as the one who puts the Cate Blanchett memes in response to anything. And I could talk about Cate Blanchett a lot.
Oh my God!
Your and I's
same.
lists are very, very similar for this category, and I think it's it's interesting because it's one of the toughest categories people talk about for this year.
Yeah,
I'll have a couple that are not on mine, that are on everyone else's or even yours. But for the most part, this is one of those why would Michelle Williams this year of all year put in for lead acting when it's such a tough year? Unless I respect shoot for the stars. You think I only want if I win, I want it to be on the most difficult terms. I respect that, but it kind of I think it says a lot about the fact that you and I have so much overlap, and everyone's saying this is the toughest category. So I'm going to move over to my short list. Yeah. And then you'll see where I basically agree with most of yours. So I think my short list: Leah Seydoux for Crimes of the Future, Tang Wei for Decision to Leave, Jessie Buckley in the movie Min. Mentioned this earlier, Tuso Mbedu for Woman King, Greta Gerwig for White Noise, and Margot Robbie for Babylon are on my short list. But to me, none of those make the top five. Top five nominees for lead actress in a feature film: Taylor Russell from Bones and All.
Nice.
Ana de Armas, Blonde. Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Cate Blanchett in Tar, and Keke Palmer in Nope is who I choose as my winner. Again, I think comedy should be taken more seriously. She has great physical acting. The charisma is one of those performances that you just couldn't not think about afterward. And that's people left a movie with Daniel Kaluuya, one of our greatest actors in history, and we're only talking about Keke Palmer afterward. And yet no one's taking this seriously as who should be nominated even for actress. Now, in the real world, as far as favorites, I would probably say Michelle Yeoh is who I most want to win, but who I think personally gave the best actress performance, I would say Keke Palmer is my number one.
Nice.
And I'm so glad you're not someone who's going to fight me on that. I'm so glad. Because I don't know if
No, because you're right. We did have a lot of overlap, and I think we had a lot of same ways of thinking about it too. It is interesting how everyone finds this a difficult category, but for us, it was very clear. It was very clear for us. All right, no, we know what the strongest performances were all throughout the year, and these are our opinions and our list and all that stuff like that. I can't argue with you on the whole Keke Palmer thing because, again, Keke Palmer was not in the conversation for a while, and then when Nope came out, you couldn't stop talking about her. You couldn't stop hearing about her. She made the rounds. She was all over social media. Now more and more people are aware and familiar with her. And she's been doing stuff for a minute now. So, when your recognition grows so strong and so fast in a short period of time because of what you did in a movie, that should say something, right? So I can't argue with you there for sure. I'm sure other people would, but you're not going to get that kind of argument from me.
Before we move on, you
Yeah.
had Jessie Buckley and I had Taylor Russell.
Yeah.
That was our only difference on our nom.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And honestly, Jessie Buckley was my number 6, and it was the one I had the most difficulty with switching out at the last minute. So that's to me, that's very interesting that it was like 6 of our 5 or 5 of our 6. That's a lot of overlap.
Yeah. And I think it also shows you too, like the strength of female actors right now is really, really it's huge. Like there's so many great performances. I think that's also why I had a hard time with supporting actress, is because the breadth of female actors out there and what they're doing now is amazing. And it just kind of shows you how things have really evolved to what they are now, where when it comes to the male acting, I was like, all right, who do I include? Because I didn't feel like there was a lot of strength last year in the male category. And which will segue into that list right now as we talk about lead actor. Like I mentioned before, no short list for me, no honorable mentions here. I'm just going to go into my nominees and who I consider should be included in this category. And that is Colin Farrell for, I want to say After Yang.
Oh,
because his performance was so strong in that. But I will say for Banshees of Inisherin, because that too was extremely strong. But I am also recognizing him for his role in The Batman. He's had a brilliant year. I mean, so strong. And each thing that he touched, he was also in the movie 13 Lives, directed by Ron Howard. And he did a really good job in that movie too. And no one's talking about that movie at all. But he's in that movie. So he had 4 movies last year. Each role he played was extremely strong. So I thought it was just a really good year for him. Austin Butler for Elvis. He was Elvis. He so much so that he's still Elvis. Even today, like whenever you hear him talk, it's like, oh, look, he's still in role. He can't get out of it. There's yeah. So I definitely recognize him for that. Brendan Fraser. I know everyone's been talking about him, and I understand why, because when I did see The Whale, I was like, wow, okay, that was a tour de force performance. The movie itself is not that great, in my opinion, but it was his performance that really held that movie together. And I think in combination with Sadie Sink and Hong Chow there, it's like you had the trifecta going on that made that movie so good. But to see Brendan Fraser, who we haven't really seen a lot of, come back in a movie form with this type of performance, it's definitely worth the buzz that he's been getting. We were talking about Armageddon Time before. Banks Rapida, the lead boy in that movie, his performance was brilliant. And again, so strong that I do believe that he should be considered and in the discussion for his role in that movie. And to close it out, Diego Calva from Babylon. I think it was one of those things when we were talking about that movie, I said to you, I'm not familiar with this guy at all, but wow, did he like floor me with his performance in that movie. I think he did a really great job. And, in a movie where you have Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt, and you are kind of swimming around, you're like running circles around Brad Pitt, in my opinion, that definitely speaks volumes for his performance in that film. So, yeah, those are my nominees for lead actor there. What do you think?
Who do you choose for your win?
Yes. So my win here will be going again, and I think I am doing exactly what we criticized the Oscars for doing, is I am awarding Colin Farrell, the bad boy, the former bad boy of Hollywood, which I think a lot of people are talking about now. I don't know if you know, like the whole thing about his sex tape, it has made the rounds recently, and you have a lot of new generation people like he did a sex tape, what, all this kind of stuff like that. So it's funny how it shows you a longevity of someone's career, kind of like Robert Downey Jr., who was like very heavily addicted to drugs and all that, and how he made a quick turn when he started, uh, appearing in the Marvel films. Colin Farrell has never stopped. He just kept going and going, going, regardless of the kind of press or publicity he's been getting for all of his antics outside. Um, and it shows you with a year like the year he had in 2022, I think he should be rewarded for that. So that is my winner of that crop right there.
Okay. I mean, I fully respect that. The only you and I will have some overlap on our lists for sure. The only one
Mhm.
that I don't have is I haven't been able to bring myself to see The Whale yet,
Okay,
for personal reasons. But here's the
sure.
promise I'll make: is if Brendan Fraser gets nominated, I will go see it.
Okay.
Last year, I saw every single nominee, including every documentary, short, every single category, to the
Uh,
point where like I was just by Oscar night, and then got COVID that week. It was a difficult week in my life, but I love doing that, and I will see that movie at that point for sure. And I'm sure that I'll
nice.
love it. I'm sure that I will think, man, I should have had him on my list. But for now, from what I've seen, my short list: Daniel Kaluuya in Nope, had the least to do, knocked it out of the park. Gabriel LaBelle in Fablemans, Timothy Chalamet in Bones and All, Adam Driver in White Noise, Ray Fine in The Menu, Adam Sandler in Hustle, David Harbour in Violent Night. I stand by it. Had some very sensitive, sweet, emotional moments, some hilarity, some great physical comedy and action. Overall, great performance. Shortlisted. Christian Bale for Amsterdam, and also a little bit for Thor. We won't talk about that. Um, then I have three people that I like were at one point on my list, and I switched them out that I have to like shout out a little louder. Is um, Colin Farrell for all the stuff you said didn't make my final top five. Hurt to take him off. Austin Butler didn't make my top five. Hurt to take him off. But the fact that he's just Elvis now makes me think like I don't think I would give Elvis the award for playing Elvis, so I'm not giving it to Austin Butler as a nominee. And if
Is he our modern day Elvis now? Is he taking over the
no,
mantle?
he just is Elvis. He's
He
not like
just
a
is
modern day. He
Elvis.
just
Yeah.
yeah, like he did a full transformation, and that to me is kind of terrifying. It's hard to even think about. Um, you hang out with a friend who from your hometown, and now you're saying things a little bit weird again. You're like, oh
Right.
shit, my voice changed. What? Oh no. The fact that we can just do a psychological slip into another
Hmm.
person, I don't love the ramifications of that. Um,
So does this mean that Baz Luhrmann has a franchise ahead of him? Are we going to see like Elvis 2, Elvis 3, like the further
oh
adventures
no,
of
he's just gonna
Elvis?
remake every Elvis movie. Yeah, and Austin Butler can't get cast in anything else other than adaptations of shitty old Elvis movies, or better yet, put him in the movies he should have been in. So
Uh,
now, like one of the famous things about Elvis, and then I swear I'll get back to it. Elvis, because of the Colonel, Tom Hanks' character, only took the quick cash grabs that would help the
right.
Colonel and kept Elvis from famously doing things like West Side Story. Elvis
Right.
could have had West Side Story and said no. It, Austin Butler as Elvis will be in Dune 2, and now we'll get to see what it would be like if Elvis had been in Dune 2, and that's very exciting. Austin Butler as Elvis in a remake to West Side Story would have been great if
Oh
only
my
the
god.
timing had been a little bit differently there. All of these options of like it's infinite the amount of amazing things that can happen now that we just Elvis, not only is he still alive, he's fully reincarnated
That's it.
and a young man again.
That's how it's going to be credited from now on. Every movie he does, it's going to be Austin Butler as
Austin
Elvis
Butler as
as.
Elvis as I love it, man. I love it.
Oh man, it's the best.
Um, my last like highly shortlisted, which it's funny that these people are all on your list, but it's Banks Rapida for Armageddon Time. That was the
Nice.
last person I was like, I was pulling teeth to take him off the list. So my top five are Paul Mescal for After Sun, Diego Calva for Babylon, Alexander Skarsgård in The Northman. I stand by that one. Again, it's one of those things. Not a lot of dialogue for that character. A pretty simple character, but the physical acting was incredible. And then there's a moment where he's having to become a wolf. And I wish the Oscars would take serious action movies like this more seriously. Um, my last two, no one's going to have on any list, I'm afraid. But Christopher Abbott in On the Count of Three, where he was a co-lead with Gerard Carmichael. I love Christopher Abbott as an actor for Solomon Girls, and I think he needs more great roles. And in this one, I think he knocked it out of the park. I have a soft spot for that movie and that actor. Put him on there. And Joel Kim Booster in Fire Island gave what I think was a very nuanced performance, was at times funny or the butt of the joke, but also gave some very sensitive and sweet moments in what was essentially a gay rom-com from the
Sure.
last year. But like the movie, I'm wondering if in some ways it's because it was a streamer or because of the way it was marketed as kind of like a fun vacation type movie, but like it was deeper than that for sure. And Joel Kim Booster's performance to me was an absolute home run. So of those five, I'm giving it to Diego Calva. Uh, I love Babylon. Not everyone did, but I think even the people who didn't like it are saying, "Who was that man?" And
Mhm.
damn, that was a great performance. I think that was special, and it's really fun to me to see someone who's has very few known credits in their history, and then just come into a movie and outshine Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Amazing work there. And there was a couple other performances there that I almost included in the supporting, but didn't, just because if they'd gotten more screen time, I'm sure they would have been on there. But the roles were a little too simple. But Diego Calva was given a lot to do and absolutely crushed it in Babylon.
Nice. Um, the only thing I would not argue, but maybe semi disqualify you on is the fact that Fire Island was not a theatrical released movie. So if we were really going by Academy rules, that would not have been qualified for Oscar nominations, unless it was, and I'm not familiar with.
So, are we going by the Oscar rules, Renee? In which case, I'm gonna have to take a couple of your nominees away as well,
How
Renee.
so? How
Um,
so?
I mean, or I'm sorry, be switching categories around.
Oh well,
And also,
yeah.
you
I
would not
mean,
be allowed to mention
yeah.
all the movies Colin Farrell was in when you put them up. You can only mention one, no matter what. It's so stupid. I know.
Whatever.
For the
Yeah, no, I know.
Oscars.
No, I love that you included Alexander Skarsgård on your list because I think The Northman was a definitely surprise when we saw it. And I don't think I think more people should be talking about it just because of the cinematography and how that movie was really put together. But the performances were really strong. I mean, Anya Taylor-Joy's in that movie, and I don't hear people talking about her at all. And she had a pretty good year too with that
Right.
and The Menu. So really good stuff there. Yeah, Christopher Abbott, Joel Kim Booster. I was not expecting to hear those names from anyone, really. But I do know how much you really enjoyed Fire Island. We talked about it during like our best of 2022 discussion. So yeah, no, I like your list quite a bit here, but yeah, Diego Calva again, can't
Yep.
argue with that because that performance was so strong. And again, it's the same discussion with Kiki Palmer, right? It's like when you do one thing and now people can't stop talking about you, or the only thing they can talk about is your performance after watching that movie, then you that means something special just happened. So I feel like there should definitely be
Yep.
recognition for that. So I love it. All right. Oh, go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, since
Yeah,
what you're talking about with the theatrical release thing, which to me, I don't care about the semantics of it. But would you? I'm trying to think of other movies that you might have included if you were doing things that weren't eligible for Oscars. Is Prey anywhere? Because I don't think I saw Prey and you did. Is that anywhere on your list, or are there any other movies
so
that you maybe excluded? Because there's not a ton. Most movies do the thing where they do a theatrical release
sure.
just to be in the Oscars. It's fascinating that Fire Island didn't. That kind of blows my mind now that you
Yeah.
mention it.
Yeah. Prey. I would not have included on anything, but if let's say I would like I wasn't really like caring about the whole theatrical release or whatever the case is. I think Prey would have been a good addition to, let's say, visual effects,
Right.
or one of the screenplay categories, because I do find it fascinating that they were able to kind of like, bring back an IP that was pretty much dead, in my opinion. No one was talking about Predator at all. More recent attempts were very poor, and the fact that they kind of brought it back to roots in a way and they made it really more entertaining, uh I would reward it for that, at least recognizing for that achievement. As far as like other stuff that came out on streaming, I mean, outside of Netflix uh and Apple, I feel like I did recognize those because I mean they did have their own theatrical runs and all that stuff, but I don't think there was anything else that I'm missing that
Yeah. Okay.
just because if it was on a streaming platform or whatever the case is.
It's so
But
rare
that
these days, right? Everyone does at least a
yeah,
little movie release just for this exact reason.
well, they know they
Yeah.
know the rules, right? So they even if they just release it for like a week, they know they need to do that if they have something special in their hands. So cool. Let us now talk about directors. So this is always an interesting conversation to have every year. And also, again, it seems to always be a topic of conversation of, all right, if a director is nominated and wins, oh, that automatically means they're going to win Best Picture, right? Because, it goes hand in hand, but that isn't always the case. I think kind of what I talked about with you before is the way I approach the nominations for director is the art of filmmaking. Like who had the most impact when it comes to that art of filmmaking. Um, and I'm not just saying how he directed his actors, but also how he framed scenes, how he edited it, how he kind of created that narrative that really worked for the film. All of that is what I include in the directing category and how I kind of approach my nominees. And also, I am kind of rewarding people who maybe we haven't heard from in a while. And they all of a sudden come back and they come up with like this brilliant piece of art and, a film that we can't stop talking about. So I kind of, put that into consideration too. My only shortlist mention here is Steven Spielberg. He did not make my list of the top 5 nominees here, but I do have to recognize Spielberg because, I mean, Spielberg, right? And The Fablemans, I think one of the things that we agree on is it's one of his best recent pictures that he's put out in some time. And it kind of felt like a return to Spielberg in a way, which I really appreciated. So he is on my only person on my short list for this category. But as far as my nominations go, Guillermo del Toro for Pinocchio. The dude worked on this film for 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
and he put out this brilliant piece of work, and it's such a good movie, so well done. Yes, it's animated, but you try doing stop motion animation for a 2 hour long movie and kind of work on it for 15 years of your life, and you tell me that it shouldn't be considered for anything. So I'm definitely recognizing him for that. Todd Field hasn't done a movie in forever, and then all of a sudden he comes out with Tar, and people can't stop talking about it. Come on,
Yo.
So I definitely have to recognize him for that. The Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once. It blew our mind when we saw that movie, and again, it's from directors that I was not familiar with at all. And they did a really great job with that movie. James Cameron for Avatar: Way of Water. I think it's very safe now to say that you never bet against the House of Cameron, especially now that it's been official that Avatar just crossed the 2 billion mark box office globally for a film that, the Twitterverse was saying that they could care less of. And whatever the case is, well, eat your heart out, Twitterverse. I mean, James Cameron just proved you wrong. And last on my list here is SS Rajamouli for Triple
Wow.
R. Yes, I am giving
Wow.
him this
Interesting.
nod. I'm giving him this nod because, I mean, Triple R, man. If you haven't seen Triple R, then you, of course, you won't understand why I did it. But if you do, then you know why. What an amazing, energetic, just overall surprising and entertaining movie that movie was. And it led a conversation that lasted months and months and months. And I think people now are just watching it for the first time, and now they're starting a new set of buzz and conversation over this movie. Um, I know I'm pretty positive that it is going to be in the consideration for international film. But I think it is one of those things that should also be recognized in the overall directing category, because I don't think the Academy does that enough. And they kind of like ding a foreign film from these categories sometimes just because like, oh, well, we'll recognize them in the international category. I
Right.
think that's a cop out. So I am at least recognizing the nominee for him and that movie. My overall winner here, man, that's a tough one. I'm gonna give my overall pick to Guillermo del Toro for Pinocchio. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I
Okay.
think it's about time for him to be in the conversation again. I know he already got acclaim for Shape of Water. And he's always been like well respected in the industry, but this is a next level thing that he did, and I think it should definitely be recognized for that. So there you go.
Fascinating. I think you might be one of the only people with that at the top of your list.
That's
I
fine.
love it. As far as you added a couple to my short list actually, but RRR love seeing that it's getting some momentum in award season again. Uh, because I'm finally getting to go see it in theater next week,
Mm-hmm.
which we'll talk
Oh,
offline
nice.
about that whole plan.
Okay.
But dude, I'm because we talked about after we saw it, this would have been a cool one to see in a theater.
Oh
It's
yeah.
happening, baby. So I don't
Nice.
know where all, but it's a couple theaters in New York. I heard about a recent one in LA where there's a dance party happening during it. Some legendary shit going on with that movie
Wow.
right now. My short list for director, and I think you're right about the international films thing with RRR,
Mm-hmm.
but we've seen that more and more lately with
Yeah.
directors being put in there, even if they're not in Best Picture sometimes, and with some recent wins that's one of my favorite things about the Academy body growing in size is
Mm-hmm.
we have more diverse nominees and we also have different tastes reflected in these categories. So the James Cameron and Steven Spielberg, who you and I both agree they suck and aren't
Oh
good at
yeah,
their
for
jobs
sure.
at all.
Yeah.
No one takes them seriously.
No.
No, but like they're not on my short list, and yet historically the Oscars would always put folks like that at the top of the list, and yet you're more likely to see like Ruben Ostlund getting a nomination in the Best Director category, something like that for Triangle of Sadness. So
Mm-hmm.
that's on my short list. You added SS Rajmouli for RRR and Guillermo del Toro to my short list. James Gray for Armageddon Time, Brett Morgan for
Nice.
Bowie, Matt Reeves for The Batman, Luca Guadagnino, Bones and All, Charlotte Wells for After Sun, Damien Chazelle for Babylon, and Park Chan-wook for Decision to Leave are all ones that I strongly considered making the list. And
Mm-hmm.
there are so many others that I like was like, okay, no, not really. But these are the ones that were on my list at some point. And then my actual top 5 nominees I would put forth are Todd Field for Tar, the Daniels, Daniel Shiner and Daniel Kwan for Everything Everywhere all at once, Jordan Peele for Nope, Noah
Okay.
Baumbach for White Noise, and Robert Eggers for The Northman. I don't know how much I stand by those versus the people who barely missed the list. I'm not going to overthink it too much. But part of what I considered with this was like the amount of directing that was actually being done to where I left saying, okay, I know that the director did a great job, not just that they had great actors and a great story and a great editing team, but the
Mm-hmm.
actual like to me, one of the most special things about Tar is like how it's constructed and a
Yeah.
few decisions that the director is making. And to me, that basically takes it from like, oh, that was a great Oscar bait Kate Blanchett movie to like, holy shit, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen. And same with all these on the list. Especially to me, Jordan Peele should have gotten more consideration from the beginning for Nope. It's my favorite of his movies. We have a whole episode talking about that. And then also same with Noah Baumbach and the Daniels, all three of them. It's like their most cinematic, and Robert Eggers. It's their most cinematic movie to date. And these
Mhm.
are directors who've done amazing work with smaller budgets, and now this year we're given a greater palette, and to me did fantastic work that was more spectacular than anything they had done before. So that's why that's my top five. I think it's a really tough one. I'm so close to giving it to any of these, especially Todd Field. But I'm going to give it to the Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once,
Okay.
just because that was such a damn special movie. That
Yeah.
said, at the end of the year, on a lot of these categories, Tar and Everything Everywhere are my top two. And a lot of people are putting those as the top two contenders for the Oscar Best Picture.
Yeah.
And then that and the Fablemans kind of is that, like, depending on what voting body we get showing up this year, we'll see what kind of year it is. But Best Picture stuff, man, that's interesting. I have the same issue those as the Academy with that one.
Yeah.
Those two
Yeah.
movies facing off.
Well, talking about facing off in Best Picture, might as well just dive into that right now because
Did I segue? Oh my
you
bad.
did. Look at you with your segueing podcast brain. I love it. But yeah, Best Picture. Look, this has always been a controversial topic and category, especially the big thing about the Oscars not recognizing box office versus art, I guess, or prestige or whatever the case is. It always never really truly speaks to the general audience who actually goes out and watches movies. And I think they are going to try to change that a little bit this year. And I won't be surprised if some of the more successful movies are mentioned in this category. Going into that mindset, I kind of had the same feeling too. So my nominations here are basically a mix of success as far as box office and also movies that really impacted me and hit me. And again, if you're familiar with this channel, you heard us talk about these particular movies at length, right? So going from my nomination list here, Babylon, I will put Babylon here because even though I wasn't a huge fan of this movie, it was quite a feat that this movie pulled off. And I think everything involved with the acting, the editing, the music, the kind of look into Hollywood's past and the raunchiness of it all. I award Chazelle for that. Even though I didn't mention him in the director category, I think once you have the film in front of you, that it's in itself should be recognized because of whatever it was able to accomplish. So I will recognize it for that. Top Gun Maverick, man. This was my favorite movie of the year. So I have to have this on my list. I seen it in the theater 3 times. It was such a blast. Still a great movie. It still holds up. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Again, very close to the top of my list. I think in the beginning of the year, I had this at number 1. And then Top Gun Maverick and kind of took it away. But it could easily sway back and forth. Like if you ask me a week from now, I'll say, oh no, Everything Everywhere All at Once is better than Top Gun Maverick. And then maybe the next day I'll be like, no, Top Gun Maverick is the best because I just had such a great time with that film. But yeah, so Everything Everywhere All at Once. Tar, again, a special film. I can't talk enough about, and we talked a lot about Tar when that came out. Armageddon Time, again, I want to give this the love it deserves because that is a movie, like we said, has that formula for this type of Oscar consideration. And it was just a really well done movie. Avatar: Way of Water, again, because of the success and the accomplishment, it kind of pulled off, especially in the state of cinema that we're in now. As far as the business side of things, the fact that a movie like this can still pull in huge numbers the way it did in itself should be recognized. Triple R, I am putting Triple R on this list because again, huge impact in the movie industry last year, and as far as like more audiences reaction, a lot of people could not stop talking about this movie when they saw it. So it should definitely, in my opinion, makes the list here. Triangle of Sadness. This was the Palme d'Or winner from Cannes this year, and well deserved. This movie was not what I was expecting, but it was a pleasant surprise, and I was really, really floored by this movie. The Fablemans, again, it's Spielberg kind of returned to form there. And to round out my list, Baz Luhrmann with Elvis. I think Elvis was just a really, really well done rock and roll, high profile movie, telling the story of Elvis and all that stuff like that. So I really, really enjoyed it. Hell, you converted your main actor to be the main person, and he is now forever Elvis. So what a huge accomplishment there. This is tough to choose out who's going to be my overall winner of this category.
No pressure at all. Don't overthink.
But you know what? I'm going to give it to the one movie that I said was my best movie of last year, and that's Top Gun Maverick. I am going to award Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead. Yeah, thumbs down. Whatever. Suck it. It was my favorite movie. I think it should be recognized as such. Eat that, Academy. All right. No.
Fly into the safe zone because that's just a real safe movie. Good job. What a not dangerous film. No, I mean, dude, I've been talking a lot of shit about Top Gun Maverick this year because you've been hyping it so much. I just want to be clear. If you weren't hyping it so much, I might be hyping it more. And I don't actually hate it, but I will be continue talking shit. You're
just a counter hyper. Yeah.
Entrenched.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's fine. Yeah.
I'll have some same ones that we can talk about any distinctions more afterward. But
sure.
Shortlisted a few of yours to especially let's see, actually, I'm just going to go through the list. Banshees, shortlisted, Woman King, Fire Island, After Sun, Armageddon Time, and Blonde. We've talked about those, and they're representing most of the other categories somewhere. So my 10 official nominees is The Batman, The Northman, Bones and All, Babylon, Triangle of Sadness, RRR, Nope, Tar, White Noise, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. Since we did our favorite movies of the year, my list hasn't really changed. The only difference the main difference you and I had to me is that you had Triple R and I had RRR, and those.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what movie you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna just die on the hill that we should be saying RRR and not Triple R.
Well, here's the thing. I'm playing the typical American stereotype where I just need to call it the way I think it should be called. So that's that's basically what I'm doing there.
No. One of my favorite tweets on it, but imagine this written out because then it's just, hey, I don't know how to pronounce RRR. Is it RRR or is it RRR? And I'm excited to hear everyone talk about this movie and do it differently. And whatever the other person says, I will say it opposite.
Right.
And just like how I feel about Top Gun Maverick, and that's why it's not on my list. But yeah, that's my top 10 of the year.
Nice.
My
just
winner,
to
forgot. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Yeah. Give me some time.
No, just to recap. So you have The Batman, The Northman, Bones and All, RRR. There, I'm going to go with you the way you pronounce it. Triangle of Sadness, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Nope, Tar, and what was the last one? Or the last two?
There's White Noise and Babylon.
White Noise and Babylon. Right. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
My best feature film for this first annual MovieTime, guys.
Oh yeah,
we did this last year because we started after the nominations were announced, but before the actual Oscars. They were so late in the year. But my number one choice for the movie of the year of 2022 is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Nice,
hands down. I got to go with it. It's been my number one spot for so long. There's no reason to second guess myself now. What a special movie. And
Yeah. I
honestly,
mean,
looking back at this list, what a great year for film. A couple years ago,
seriously.
it was
Yeah.
not as good. It was a little dicey. We had a pretty good year this year.
If you just sit down and you look at box office numbers, you're not representing the year of film because there
Yeah.
was a lot of great movies that came out last year. Most of them are the ones that didn't perform at all at the box office. But if you're considering just performances, acting, filmmaking, there was a lot of great selections and options last year. That even when we talked about our best and worst of last year, it was so hard to kind of put together a list like that because there was actually a lot of
Mhm.
great stuff that came out. And I feel like there's even going to be more so this year because of all the
Yep.
delays and all that stuff. So it's, I think, as far as lovers of film, we're in a good spot right now. So, yeah, and your choice for Everything Everywhere All at Once, honestly, I won't be surprised if this ends up being the number one winner when the Oscars
Yo.
come out. I won't be surprised, and if it does, I would be ecstatic because again,
Yeah.
what an accomplishment, what an achievement for a film like that to kind of really just come out of nowhere, right? And just to have that type of impact on a lot of people, and how fascinating would it be to say like, look at that A24, this little kind of we're just gonna do our way. Not only do they have Moonlight, but then they're gonna have
Bro.
an everything everywhere all at once. If that happens, oh my god,
Yep.
that's gonna be phenomenal. So, really, really good
I
stuff.
would be excited. I wish I could say the same about your best picture, but
That's
I will
okay.
just head in hand. No. Yeah, no, it's been a great year in film. Sadly, it'll be one of the last ones ever. None of the studios made enough money, and we regret to inform you Hollywood is over.
That's
Margot
it.
Robbie, I'm
Yep.
excited to see what your next career will be.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if you go back to, a normal acting side job, I'll tip you very well at a restaurant when I visit LA. No, seriously, this upcoming year, w- we've talked previews for 2023, and I've been
Hmm.
going through stuff, and there's ones that aren't anywhere on like a top 20 list that are like this next year is going to be stacked.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
absolutely hyped for it.
Yeah. And if Hollywood does shut down and close down because they went bankrupt, I think the next best thing is gonna, everyone's just gonna move to TV. So Margot Robbie, she's gonna end up being on White Lotus season 4. So
Right.
that's because all the major actors are now doing TV and streaming these days. So I mean, you have what is that? You have Helen Mirren and Harrison Ford doing a Yellowstone prequel right now on TV. So go figure.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but we have a little bit of time here, so why don't
Yeah.
we just quickly go off? I know you wanted to go over the screenplay categories, which I think are really good. I can quickly just go through an animated category, and you can do song, right? I think that's something you wanted
Yeah.
to discuss real quick. So,
Just to touch on it, even just a
yeah,
few names that come up because that's an exciting category, and I know that you had Guillermo del Toro as your top director, so I know you're a man with
absolutely.
opinions about animated feature films.
Yeah, cool. So, yeah, so let's go through adapted screenplay real quick. So, my list that I have for that is Women Talking, The Whale, Glass Onion, Bones and All, and White Noise. Those are my choices for adapted screenplay. And I think my overall winner here, oof, I you know what? Again, I think it deserves more attention. Women Talking. I would give it to Women Talking for that type of movie. I think the performances speak more highly on how good that movie was, but it is a strong movie and a strong message there. So I would go with Women Talking there.
You're not putting Pinocchio as your top choice there.
No,
Okay, that's fine.
yeah,
I'm gonna go through mine. Adapted screenplay short list is The Batman, Marcel the Shell, Escape from Spiderhead, Fire Island, and Glass Onion.
hmm,
For the record, some of these is it technically an adaptation if it's based on someone's life, but
sure,
isn't based on a
yeah,
book about all that stuff? I decided not to overthink and go with my gut on those. So my top five: Women Talking, White Noise, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, bones and all, and Weird, the Al Yankovic story. I stand by
Ah,
it
love it. Love it.
very much, very strongly. This is not a shit post, I promise. The way that they took the story and then turned it into a different thing to me was
Hmm.
actually innovative and fun and true to the original story, truer than a truer story would have been. If
Right.
you haven't seen it, can't recommend it enough.
Yeah.
Get the Roku app on your Apple device or whatever you people use now that isn't Roku. But my winner is White Noise. It was such a good adaptation. It got me to check the book out of the library. Whether I will read it is to be determined for now, but I am very interested in the source material, and I generally don't like books. I prefer movies, so that says a lot.
Nice. And again, I'm not surprised because I know how much of a Noah Baumbach fan you are to begin with. And the fact that you love that movie so much when you had a chance to see it. So I'm not surprised that that was your choice. You're wrong, but I'm not surprised that that was your choice. But that's quite
Fair enough.
okay. I forgive you. Original screenplay. So here I have The Menu, Tar, Triangle of Sadness, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Babylon. My winner out of this list here, I will award it to Triangle of Sadness. Because again, it was one of
Wow.
those things that shocked the hell out of me in a good way. Was not expecting it. And I had such a brilliant time with this movie. I thought it was a very bold take on discussion of classes. And it was very impactful. And I really, really enjoyed it. I will say though, The Menu was a very close choice of mine because of how much I love that movie. But yeah, I'll go with Triangle of Sadness there.
Okay. I respect that. It's on my short list. It didn't make my top five, but Triangle of Sadness shortlisted are Triangle of Sadness, The Fablemans, The Menu, RRR, Babylon, Amsterdam, After Sun, Crimes of the Future, and then On the Count of Three, the movie I mentioned earlier for lead
Right.
actor. But my top five original screenplay are Nope, Tar, The Banshees of Inisherin, Strawberry Mansion, which I mentioned in my year in review. Just one of the most surreal, weird things I've ever read. And then Everything Everywhere All at Once for original screenplay. I think Nope should be getting more consideration the way that the things tied together and the amount of metaphor that was layered in and the way they would show the something in the past and bring it in and the way it folded. I really enjoyed that
Mhm.
for a truly original story.
Yeah.
um, that said, my winner for the year is Everything Everywhere All at Once, because when we're talking about originality of original screenplays, that one is special. The
Hmm.
dialogue, the story, the character development, the plot, literally everything about it. It hits every genre. It hits every emotion. Just perfect writing there, and then perfect execution, which is why it's
Yeah.
winning all my other main awards. But yeah.
Good stuff. All right. So let's close things off with two more categories here. I wanted to quickly talk about animated feature because, again, I am a huge fan of animated film. And with all my talk about Pinocchio, might as well talk about that real quick. So the nominations I have here for animated feature are Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Pinocchio, Turning Red, Puss in Boots, and Wendell and Wild. Now, I put Puss in Boots in there only because I have not seen any other animated movie that I would have considered for this for this thing. That I just threw Puss in Boots in there because everyone can't stop talking about it. But people have talked about it enough that I am very curious about it now. So I may catch it, but probably not. But I'm considering it very highly. But out of all the other ones that I did see, I would easily award this to Marcel the Shell with Shoes On because it's not getting enough recognition for a lot of other things. It should definitely be recognized for this category, in my opinion, because it was such. Yes, Pinocchio was a brilliant movie, but I felt like I awarded it with director. So my
Yeah.
mentality is let's give Marcel the Shell the recognition it deserves, and I'm giving it animated feature there.
I mean, there's a critic. I was going through their recommendations for who should be nominated,
Hmm.
and they had Jenny Slate as the best actress, just because the
Wow.
voice work was so good.
Yeah.
And Jenny Slate was in Everything Everywhere, which we've talked
Right.
about that movie enough. But Marcel the Shell, I need to rewatch it because it is a top choice for film for animated movie.
Hmm.
Um, to clarify, have you seen Puss in Boots yet? Because I almost went last night and
No.
my evening went sideways, so I wasn't able to. It is the letterboxed community is showing up for Puss in Boots in a way that they haven't since Paddington 2 for one of these
Oh
kind of
yeah.
movies. I'm gonna go see that maybe tonight or in the next few days. So if you want to do a sporadic Puss in Boots episode for no damn reason other than it's hilariously funny to think it's good and it's actually good, I love a good shit post where it's like, oh shit, they took something that was like a fifth movie in a weird
Yeah.
IP and made it amazing. So that I'm excited to see in theaters. But I love your choice of Marcel. Long live Marcel. The Queen.
Yeah, no, it is crazy how much love Puss in Boots is getting. So much so that I just saw this weekend's box office where it shot back up to number two because I guess more people are going out and watching it. So I'm like, there must be something about this movie that is driving it home for so many people that I am very, very curious. So I may actually take you up on that. I may just go out and catch it sometime this week, and then we'll just randomly record something real quick and be like, all right, Puss in Boots, you're, good or bad or whatever, or I don't understand what people are saying, whatever. I feel like those are like the fun conversations to have. But I know the last category you wanted to quickly cover song. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not going to go super deep on it, but basically, this is a fun category. Something we don't talk about as much
Sure.
is I'm obsessive with music. I used to have a music blog, and at one year I did like top 100 albums of the year, and
Hmm.
am just very deeply passionate about it. And this is a funny category because oftentimes there will be a celebrity who makes their way to the top of the list, or it'll have some of the biggest celebrity snubs. Like a Beyonce
Yeah.
might be missing from this list sometimes. It's just how did you not get that chance? Or like last year, Beyonce is performing at the Oscars, which is always super fun. So there are people who like a Rihanna who has not as great of a film career, or like Taylor Swift was in Amsterdam last year, but now is on the short list for original song for Where the Crawdads Sing. And then you'll get some indie music people who don't get much recognition other than sometimes like a few years ago, Sufjan Stevens for Call Me By Your Name, who's like one of my all-time favorite artists, and then is nervously performing at the Oscars a song from an indie movie that just happened to blow up.
Hmm.
Those are always fun. I think of Moldy Peaches with the movie Juno, where one of my favorite bands who were just super underground now all of a sudden have one of the biggest stages in television, other than the Super Bowl for musicians. So this to me is a fun category to talk about. Basically, there's a few very famous names on here that they're not making my top five, but like there's a chance that we could have any of these people performing at the Oscars of Rihanna, Taylor Swift, Nora Jones, Selena Gomez, The Weeknd for the absolutely terrible song in Avatar, The Way of Water,
Yeah.
or Lady Gaga for the absolutely terrible song in Top Gun Maverick, which is one of the hardest things about this category is sometimes they just, oh yeah, we'd love to have The Weeknd here, but the song isn't good.
Right.
So my top five nominees though would have to be LCD Sound System for these are all officially shortlisted. Unlike a lot of the categories we did, the Oscars have already narrowed this down for us.
Yeah.
But of those like 15 or 20 names or so, LCD Sound System for New Body Roomba at the end of White Noise, Natu Natu from RRR would be a lot of fun to see live and to see when they just got the Golden Globe for that song. Um, Sun Lux featuring Mitski and David Byrne is a great indie one for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Rihanna did the song in Black Panther, Lift Me Up, and I loved that song. And then Giveon had a song called Time in the movie Amsterdam, which is one of those that I Shazammed in real time and then have listened
Oh,
to just for fun, which says a
okay.
lot. Um, the only other things I think are worth mentioning is Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell were shortlisted for a song from the Spirited movie called "Good Afternoon," and also your beloved Pinocchio has "Ciao Papa" as movies that songs that were also shortlisted. So I
Nice.
think no matter what, I will be very pleased with the nominees and also probably very angry. But my choice for winners is definitely down to Sunlux, Mitski, and David Byrne for "This Is a Life" from Everything Everywhere, and LCD
Mm.
Sound System for "New Body Roomba." Of those, while I've listened to New Body Roomba a ton and just danced to it while cleaning my home a bunch, I think that "This Is a Life" from Everything Everywhere All at Once would be my choice. Not only David Byrne, one of the greatest, the dude from Talking Heads, one of the greatest music figures ever, but Mitski, who's like a TikTok generation legend now, as well as like an indie darling, big fave of mine for a while, and Sun Lux being there is fun. So that's who I would give it to. Again, Everything Everywhere All at Once is in a top choice for me from these nominees. But it's possible that neither of those make the list when I'm looking at favorites, and we might have a lot of the Taylor Swift, Rihanna, Lady Gaga stuff going on. So TBD. Yeah.
Yeah, think I personally think Natu is gonna win the Oscars this
Yeah.
year.
That'll be
I
fun.
think,
Won't be
yeah.
mad about that at all. Let me be
Oh
clear.
yeah.
That will be fun.
I, I think if that is announced as a nomination, and then let's say once we start watching the show, and if they win, I think both you and I are going to jump up for joy because that is just going to be such a fun thing to experience. Um, I think a lot of people are also guessing that maybe Rihanna might have a shot at winning for her song from Black Panther. I'm glad Spirited got recognized for something, I guess, because again, if you know me, you know how much I love that movie. But I will say that that song was actually one of the few funny moments of the film. So I will give him that. But that's pretty much all I think that movie should be recognized for. But yeah, no. Song is always fun to talk about. I wonder how they're going to do it this year. Are they going to allow for every song to be performed, or are we going to get a montage or melody or medley of them? I don't know. I mean, I feel like those are one of the things that people like to watch, but also I know that some people don't like to watch it. So it's
Yeah.
going to be very interesting to see how they tackle that this year.
That's one of my favorite things too. I always am for the songs being there, and does it make the night longer technically?
Yeah,
But especially when you have the years where it's like this year you could have a Rihanna performance. Anytime you have a chance to invite Rihanna to a room that you're in send that invitation and hope she
yeah,
says yes. Should we
yeah.
be so blessed? And the fact that her song is actually, in my opinion, like a legit good song is nice. Whereas there's sometimes it kind of gets phoned in by the big names and they still get invited
Sure.
anyway.
Hmm.
That would be a fun one to see her perform. The Oscars change it up every year, and I don't know. I don't. In the past, they haven't made announcements until right before, and sometimes even those announcements are misleading. Where it'll
Right.
be performed that night, but before during the red carpet thing. But some of the songs will be during. It's so weird how they've been all over the place with that. The Grammys have figured out how to make a live music interesting at an award show, and not every song is going to be for everyone, and that'll be one of the trickier parts. But there's definitely a way to do it, and you get to bring in more people to the Oscars who are going to watch for at the very least that part of the show.
Right.
So I'm excited to see how it goes. And if they don't have them perform, that's the only reason I'll be properly pissed.
No, definitely. And I think you and I, it's safe to say we're just excited to see what's going to happen. You know, what new incident will there be? I don't think there's going to be any incident like last year. That's kind of like few and far in between. But
We
I'm
said
sure
that
there's
last year, for the record, if you
well, that's
recall. We
true.
were like, well,
That
nothing interesting will happen, so
that is true too.
good.
You know, so whoever's going to do something, you have a high bar to set, or a high bar has already been set for whatever that's going to be. But are you excited for the Oscars? Are you excited for the nominees to be announced in a couple of days? Let us know your thoughts and everything in the comments. Let's have a discussion about everything we talked about, or maybe some of the things that we missed. Let us know what your front runners are for each category that we discussed. And what are you expecting for this year's awards ceremony? Let's definitely have a discussion about that. But as we close out this episode, Blake, any final words, comments?
Nominate Chris Rock for his small band. I'm saying we'll get to have a very interesting Oscars. No, seriously, these are my thoughts. I'm so excited. This conversation will continue. This has been one of the funnest episodes in a while, just talking about the things that filled us with joy from our favorite thing, which is movies. So always fun, dude.
No, absolutely. So yeah, so this has been this week's episode of Movie Time. Blake, where can people find you online if they don't know yet?
I am here on a weekly basis and also on letterboxd.com with the screen name Last Name Wolf, as it is LASTNAMEWOLF on Letterboxd. And I've gotten a couple of new followers just saying, and we recently did our little Letterboxd episode, year in review, so that was fun. Yeah, I'll still be there.
Nice. And I'm there too. And I promise that I will be more of a presence this year for sure. So you could see our Letterboxd screen names right below here at the bottom of the screen. As far as myself, LOWKEY GEEK, obviously you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, here on YouTube. Most importantly, if you haven't done so yet, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It'll take you a couple of seconds and it doesn't cost you a thing. Hit that notification bell so you can get notified for any time a new video is uploaded. And if you are looking for an audio version, or you would like an audio version, just type out LOWKEY GEEK on your podcast platform of choice, where you could download this episode and many others. So I've been Rene. That's been Blake. This has been Movie Time. Thank you so much for watching. Stay cool, stay classy, stay safe, stay sane, and we'll catch you all in the next one. All right, peace out, everyone.